Hi, my name's Paul. I'm from Pablo and Rusty's Coffee Roasters. I'm here today to talk to you about the Mythos 1. We're going to go through some troubleshooting tips, how to clean, and then a deeper clean at the end. Let's get into it. So you'll need a screwdriver, 3mm screwdriver, and then a brush as well. You've got 2 screws on the front. Make sure you press hard and then crack it, and then just use a couple of fingers just to undo it. It'll come out pretty easy. Make sure you've got a cup as well. Put your screws in so you don't lose them. Once you get that off. And as you can see here, you've got a lot of retention here of coffee. So you want to use your brush. You might need the edge of your screwdriver just to underneath where the metal is. Be careful not to damage the teeth. Then you can see here, now the teeth are down, they're all clean. And just fill it up till you feel resistance, and then just a little nip just to finish it off. And that's it. That's how we unblock our Mythos. So now we're going to show you how to change your clump crusher. You're going to need a screwdriver. You're going to need a spare clump crusher. And then you also need a cup just to put your screws in so you don't lose them. So first of all, we want to just press really hard up against the screwdriver and crack the screw. And then just use a couple of fingers. It should just come out really easily. So you can catch the screw, pop it into the cup, just repeat for the other screw, pop all that in there. And then as you can see, you have a little bit of retention there. Once you clean that coffee up, there's another screw that sits in the center of the back there. You want to make sure, again, find the groove, make sure it's in the groove. Push really hard up against the grinder. Sometimes I like to hold the back of the grinder just to crack it. Once it's cracked, it should just really smoothly come out. If you don't press on the screwdriver, you can round the screw off and then it won't come out. So once you've got the screw out, pop that into the cup, take your clump crusher out. Then your new clump crusher, make sure you bend the outside just so that it fits nicely. Then that wraps around the outside, not on the inside. Make sure you push the teeth in nicely, and then the hole at the back lines up with the hole on the metal bit. Then just gently hold both sides with the finger on each side, and then we want to slot it into the insert. Now it's going to piece it back together. Again, just make sure it's up on an angle. You don't need to force it. If it feels tight, then take it out and restart it. Just nice and easy. You should be able to use a couple of fingers until you feel the resistance. Again, hold the back of the grinder, press really hard, and it's just nip it up. Make sure you just give it a wiggle. If it's still loose, it means you haven't tightened the screw. Then just popping the 2 screws on the front. And then just pick them up, you don't need to force them. And then that's it. Alright, I want to give you some just advice around how to avoid this in the future. A little later on, we're going to be showing you how to do a clean, daily clean, and also a weekly clean. If you're following those steps correctly, you will definitely avoid this, and your clump crusher will last longer and perform perfectly each day in, day out. We're just going to get into the daily clean. So these are the tools that you're going to need to do the daily clean. You're going to need your screwdriver, brush, and then your grinder pellets and a set of scales. Firstly, we just want to set your scales up. Make sure you tare it. We want to use 20 grams. And then the next step is to unlock or lock the chamber, your hopper, so that the coffee stays in the hopper. And what you want to do is grind out any excess coffee that's there. Another way you can do it to be a bit more sustainable is to lock that hopper off 10 minutes before you finish up, so you can use that coffee, and that way then you don't have to waste the coffee as well. So that's all the coffee out. Then you want to remove the hopper and then just pop the coffee into an airtight container. And just put that aside. Then you want to wash your hopper and clean your hopper with just warm soap and a cloth, and then just dry it and pop it over there. Using your cup, we want to pop into the funnel, into here, because we're going to tip the 20 grams of the pellets in there. On top of the grinder, there's a white button. You can use that to hold down so that the screen comes back alive. Placing your cup and then just using a finger just to grind the pellet through. Once you've done that, just use your brush just to brush the excess that's there. That just removes all the excess coffee that's sitting inside underneath the back plate, and in through the chute, so the oils and stuff and that won't be sitting there overnight and caking and causing any other blockages as well. And that's it pretty much. Then once you've cleaned your hopper, then you pop that back on, and then you just switch your grinder off. It's ready to go for the next day. So we've just finished our daily clean. Now we get you to do a deeper clean once a week. So we just go from, once you finish your daily clean, this is the next step into doing a deeper clean once a week. So you had a 3mm screwdriver, you'll need a 5mm screwdriver. They're a slightly bigger screw, so we need to make sure you use the right size screwdriver. If you use a smaller one, you will cause it to round off, damage the screws, and then they won't be able to come off. So please use the right size screwdriver. Again, we've got 4 screws on the front plate here. We want to press, holding the back of the grinder, and then pressing down really firmly, just to crack it. Once you've cracked it, and then do the next one, the third one, and then your 4th one. And then just using your fingers just to make sure you've got them come right out. Make sure you pop them in a cup so you don't lose them. Up the top, there's a cord, which is the heating element. Just unplug that. That just slots out. And then this will slot back out. If there's any excess, just pop that in there. So as you can see, there's the grinder pellets. You can see that there's no coffee on there. There's a little bit of coffee around the outside, so we want to make sure that we brush all of that out. So in here, you'll have a little bit of retention as well. So just using your brush and just rotating the burr as well, just to get rid of anything else. I like to use a vacuum as well. Once you've brushed it and broken all that excess coffee that's sort of sitting around that chute area, is then just to grab a vacuum. And then we just pop this back together. So then what I do is then pop this cord back underneath, plug it in, and then that way, and then just sit that nicely. Just hold it with a finger at the top, and then just with your other hand, just grabbing a screw. And then just get that screw in there. And again, we're doing it up, just nipping it. I'm gonna make sure those screws aren't loose. Then just double check that you've nipped them all up. And then I just hold the back of the grinder and just give it a wiggle, make sure it's not loose in any way, because if it's loose, the burrs will move. So when you're grinding, it won't be in the right grind set as well. When you take off this burr as well, it won't change the grind set. It'll stay, it's a stationary burr. It's the rear burr that moves. So when you put it back together, you should be around the same grind set where you were before, so it doesn't change the grind. This is something you can do if your grinder is really blocked. This is a deeper clean really quickly you can do to unblock it.
if the first clean doesn't work at all. And that's how you do a weekly clean. So we've gone through the daily clean, we've gone through the weekly clean. Now this is a monthly clean. This is removing the back burr and cleaning behind the back plate. This should be done once a month, especially for high volume accounts. It's really important that your grinder functions correctly. So once you've done your daily clean and your weekly clean, this is the next step to go further to clean behind the back plate. So let's get into it. So you're going to need the bigger screwdriver to take the bigger screws off. You will need your clump crusher screwdriver. You'll also need a brush. You'll need a pick with a hook on it. And you'll also need a good size shifter as well. Also a cup, just to make sure you don't lose your screws. So first step, remove your chute and the clump crusher. So once that's all removed, we then remove the 4 screws on the front plate, unplug the heating element again, and then just take that off and slide that out. Pop that to the side. So in here, we have a shaft and a screw. So it is a reverse thread, so it's not like a normal thread. So it's the opposite to turning it right is tight, we're going to the left, okay? So we're going to use the hook to hook into here and move this groove across. Make sure that you get your shifter tight on there and go underneath here because we want to crack it this way. So we just a crack, so you don't need to turn it that hard. So you just quickly crack it. Once it's cracked, then just comes off by hand. Okay, there's an O-ring, the gold shaft, pop that into your cup, and then this should just slide straight out. And you can see here there's a little bit of retention. This one's been cleaned pretty regularly, but generally speaking, you shouldn't see any bits of metal. There'll be a lot of coffee caked around here and inside here. Again, just using your brush and your pick as well. So if it's quite caked, just to break that coffee off. And just use your brush to break this up. And then just grab your vacuum just to finish it off. Vacuum suggestion is a must really for this sort of area because your brush needs to get into where the bearing is. And just make sure you can rotate the bearing and it still spins as well. When we're piecing this back together, on the back of the plate, it's got a little flat spot. We need to line that up with the shaft. It has a flat spot on there. If this is not lined up correctly, it will damage and cause it not to be at the right grind set as well, and also seize this onto it as well. So it's really important that we line that up. So we make sure that we line that up, make sure the flat spot's right near where you want to go. Good way to do it is when you wiggle it, it should move a little bit. Once it's on, just check that, just to spin it. And then we want to put the washer back on. And then just do this up by hand all the way. Make sure that the washer, when you get down to where it's getting tight, just using your fingers, make sure that that's centered as well. It's not hanging off to one side. So try and, doesn't have to be perfect, but just so that it's all centered as well. So when it spins as well, there's not one weight on one side. Once you've done that, we want to make sure we put our hook back in here using your shifter. And again, we're just tightening this up. So we just want to get it, we want to nip it, we don't want to force it. And that's it. Just check it as well. You can turn your grinder on, turn this on, and then make sure to spin it so there's no wobble. It should be nice and smooth, and wait for it to stop. If that spins as well and you're rotating the burr and it doesn't spin freely like that, it means that your bearing's really good. If you go to turn it or you're struggling to turn that, that could mean that your bearing is actually damaged or broken. If that's the case, please let your copy specialist know, or your local technician, just so they can come out and sort that out for you. But otherwise, if we're doing this clean, we should prevent this from happening as well. Once you've done that, then we're going to piece this back together. Plug it back in, make sure you're using your fingers to hold this. Put the 4 screws back in. And then once I've done them all, I'll then push on the back and press down. Make sure you don't round the screws off, so put pressure. And just make sure you check you've done all 4. Once that's done, we'll put piece back the clump crusher, and then we want to put the front screws on. Again, press, snip, press, snip, and then we're done. That's the clean. We've pieced it all back together. All right, thanks guys. Just wanted to wrap up. So thanks for sharing the video on the Mythos one. Hopefully you've got some really useful troubleshooting tips. Stay tuned. This is the first video on the Mythos. We'll be doing other troubleshooting videos with other bits of equipment. So stay tuned. Please subscribe to the channel, and good luck in the future.